Hello, I'm Ben Mardig, City Administrator. Thank you for watching this City Update. I'm giving some news and information on the council meeting that happened this last week, a little bit look forward, and some useful information for you that you might have on city operations that are going on. So thank you for watching today. First of all, we had our last City Council meeting on December 3rd, this last Tuesday, and the City Council had a full agenda, so we went our full 3 hours to complete our work for the year, and had an exciting council meeting with a lot of information going on. I'm going to highlight a few of those here today. First of all, we were fortunate to have Youth First activities presented, so we had Healthy Community Initiative staff come in and give an update on some of their activities. The Mayor's Youth Council, the Northfield Alliance for Substance Abuse Prevention, and our Youth on Boards program is all provided through Healthy Communities Initiative and the Youth First programming. The city is in a multi-year contract with them, so we spend a little over $50,000 a year for these services, and we really have some really innovative and fun youth-related activities that we get out of that for our community and real meaningful work. So we have 97 Northfield youth serving on local boards this last year. So it's really exciting to get information on that. We received recently through the Healthy Communities Initiative, received a local government innovation award that was just recently announced for that program through the University of Minnesota Humphrey Institute of Public Affairs. So we're really fortunate to have this program here. The Northfield Alliance for Substance Abuse and Prevention has over the last year provided 309 local individuals to identify and respond to mental health concerns through some services that are provided with that. We trained over 600 beverage servers in Rice County this year were trained for alcohol compliance and server training through the city's licensing program. So that training is provided through the Youth First activities. The group helped collect over 27,730 pounds of medication that was properly collected and destroyed rather than getting into our waste streams or potentially being used improperly or stolen or those kinds of things. So certainly a great public service there. And the group's working on a Tobacco 21 ordinance that locally would be proposing to increase the age limit to purchase tobacco from 18 to 21, and there's many communities across the state of Minnesota that have already done this, and the state of Minnesota at this next legislative session will also be discussing tobacco 21 related policies, as well as like vaping restrictions and things where we've really seen an increase, alarming increase in the use of youth in these types of products that we're finding are doing a lot of damage to the health of our youth in our community. Youth Bank is another potential program that comes out of the Youth First programming. They provided over $14,000 in grants for youth-related efforts this last year. And so there's just so much going on with that group, and we can't say enough for Zach Pruitt, the executive director, and others that came and gave an update. So we really appreciated that and kicked off a real positivity for the night on our council meeting. We also had a room full of people, a lot of interest related to our street projects that we're doing planning for 2020. So we held a public hearing related to a mill and overlay improvement hearing for the community this last council meeting. And we basically provided information related to the project area. So it's kind of the residential neighborhood up by Carleton College. So in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th Street area from Oak Street down to Washington Street, kind of in that general area. We also have a couple of streets down on the south part of the city by Heritage Drive, kind of by the James Gang Coffee area, where we're going to do some improvements to the street surface. We're also doing some curb repair, stormwater repairs as we have related to the collection of stormwater systems. So it's mainly kind of a maintenance to get an extra 15 years of life out of the roadways or more, hopefully, with that new surfacing. Now we do look at some spot improvements as well in other areas. So as an example, we are evaluating doing some curb extensions in some areas where we see a lot of pedestrian traffic to try and narrow in where pedestrians cross on streets so that it's safe, easy to cross. So there are a number of areas that we're looking in the project area doing some improvements with that. That is yet to be determined as a final at this point, but there's been some interest in those areas. We also are looking at changing the street layouts in a couple of areas within that project area. In particular, 2nd and 4th Street, we're looking at adding what are called cycle tracks for bicycle lanes, which is basically putting there'd be two-way traffic bicycle lanes on one side of the roadway, with both of the areas on College, 2nd, and 4th Street that we're looking at. There will be some loss of parking with this new design that we're looking at, but the two-way traffic on the one side of the road really is a very safe and friendly way to provide bicycle traffic in areas that we see as high use, either for now or in the future. So as an example, 4th Street is planned to have the cycle track. One of the main reasons for that is that there's going to be a new state trail. The Milltown State Trail is planned to be able to eventually connect into Wall Street. We're going to have a connecting segment that's planned to come down 4th Street, and so now would be the time to put in the cycle track to have this connecting trail to the Milltown State Trail. That designation of that trail route was a result of a multi-month process this last year in 2019, updating our pedestrian and bike plan, using some consultants, getting community feedback, and ultimately that location was selected. So we had a lot of good information and discussion provided in feedback from residents in the area. We are going to have a number of actions coming in January. So on January 7th, the council is scheduled to consider approving the overall improvement of the project to be able to move it forward. We're looking at having a work session on January 14th at the City Hall to talk about final design plans, looking at those, finalizing the design as it relates to those bike lanes, as well as related to our pedestrian crossings. And then on January 21st, kind of finalizing the plans and specifications and authorizing for bid. So January is going to be a big month for our 2020 mill and overlay improvement projects, and we really want to get it out to bid early so that we can get competitive bids, get multiple bids, the best price for the community for this major investment that we'll be making. The other big issue from the council meeting the other night that we had was the council adopted a final property tax levy. So we had a final property tax levy that was about a 9.4% increase from 2019 to 2020. We had set a little higher preliminary tax levy, which was the maximum. That would have been what was based on the tax statements if you're a resident that you would have received in the mail. So it's going to be a little bit less than that. So if you look at the line item for the city's portion, that would be the estimate of the city services that you get in the property tax cost for that. So of local property tax total, about 34% goes to the city, 24% to the county, and 42% to the school district based on the kind of the Rice County estimates that we have, which is where most of the city is located in. So one of the things with that, though, is throughout this 6-month budget process that we go through with the council, where we really roll up our sleeves and get into looking at all of the line item details, look at our strategic priorities for the city. We also know that when we looked at our comparable city groups, Northfield is at the very low end of the total dollars that we have for property taxes to run our city services, to pay for our infrastructure and facilities that we have. When you look comparatively to the other cities that we have, we're very low comparatively. In fact, even with this increase of our peer group that we have, we're still over 11% lower than the average of our peer groups, even with this levy increase that we're proposing. So there are some strategic investments in a new police sergeant position, where we know we had a recent comprehensive study on our police department done by a national firm that identified needs in those areas. They're also helping us to develop some strategic planning operational plans within this Public Works Police Department. Police Department, not Public Works on that. We did also, though, add a Public Works operator, so we're going to be adding another Public Works operator that works on our parks and our streets. They help with snow removal this time of the year, and they'll also be helping to pitch tar and fill our potholes, as well as take care of our park systems that are in need. So the City Council certainly realizes that we really could use a number of extra operators, but we're looking at incremental approaches to making those investments. We have some other big projects as well that I had provided a little information on at the meeting as well, related to our other major street project for next year is a new roundabout at the intersection of Jeff Parkway and 246 that will include some underpass pedestrian tunnels with that as well. And we're also adding a pedestrian crosswalk near the high school that will add safety as well. So We're still in that final design of that project as well, so we haven't put that out to bid. But the construction timeline for that is planned to start as the school season ends next summer, and then hopefully be completed all by the fall startup of the school season as well. So certainly excited about that project in the new year. Those are a couple of highlights, I guess, from the city council meeting. So it was a very productive meeting and a good end to the year. And as we look to January for kind of big topics on our calendar coming up, I already talked a little bit about the 2020 street projects. A couple other ones I wanted to talk about. One was we have Tobacco 21 ordinance I talked about earlier. We're going to have a first reading of that ordinance at the first meeting in January. We're looking at the city proposing to increase, again, the sale of tobacco products being made to be at the age of 21 versus 18, which we can do locally. Also putting some restrictions in place and added penalty clauses as it relates to people that would violate some of those clauses. So we're going to be having some public hearings on that. We also are excited that earlier when I talked about Healthy Communities Initiative, they actually went out and got a $300,000 grant for the city for new playground equipment that could be proposed in an area of town on kind of the north part of the town near the off of Highway 3. In particular, we have one neighborhood up on the north side of town that really does not have good access to a park, particularly as it relates to Northfield Estates and Florella's area. So we're trying to identify whether the city could acquire some land to put in a little park area to be able to install that playground equipment. So staff's been busy to try and identify a location, because in order to fulfill the requirements of that $300,000 playground grant, we have to have the playground in and installed by no later than August of 2020. So we're going to have some exciting discussions coming up about that and see what we can do related to parks. And we'll also, speaking of parks, we'll also be having some discussions coming up in January as well about potentially having a special referendum to bring to the community at the November election in 2020 to possibly consider a 0.5% sales tax to put towards parks and recreation improvements in Northfield. So more to come on that opportunity. Probably be a little bit different twist on what we took a look at the last time. We did have a past election where we proposed a question related to some improvements to the ice arena to be able to build a new arena to replace the old one, as well as to provide funding into our parks. We're looking at an overall parks and recreation type of referendum with the city council to potentially have a question, but we're looking to evaluate how we might package that, what might the improvements might be included with that. And we do have to go to the state legislature for authorization first as well. So we have a lot of work to do in the parks and recreation area. We know that our funding going into our park system is really underfunded. So this would be a way to potentially bring in dollars of people that come and visit Northfield, spend money here to hopefully improve our quality of life through our park system and maybe reduce some of the burden on our property taxes as well as we have related to our park system. So that's kind of city council activity. Now I'm going to talk just a little bit about some of the happenings from kind of our city administration side of things, what's going on with related to public services and announcements that we have. So I'm just going to run through a few of those. Certainly it's winter. We've had our first major winter snowstorm already of the season and wanted to inform you of just a few of our regulations that we have. So when a winter parking ban is in effect, basically from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. is when we have these street restrictions that are in place where they need to be removed off of the street during that time period. If you want to get notifications on when our snow emergencies are in place, sign up on the city's website at www.ci.northfield.mn.us/alerts. So we do have a button on the screen that you can basically go to, click on that, and you can sign right up for alerts, for emergency alerts with the city. So I encourage you to do that. Also during this holiday season, we are taking holiday light recycling. So if you're upgrading your lights to newer and brighter and more efficient light bulbs, Ace Hardware will take and recycle old lights that you have down in downtown Northfield here, down at Ace Hardware through the end of January. So encourage you to take advantage of that program as well. Rather than just throwing in the garbage, bring them there for recycling. Speaking of lighting as well, the Christmas trees are always a favorite among many people to have during the holidays. And so If you would like to dispose of your tree, you can place it on your curb the first 2 weeks in January, and I think you schedule that, just put it out, and it'll be picked up during that time period. We certainly all know what a wonderful time of the year it is in Northfield to host a winter walk. It's a great promotion for supporting our local businesses and bringing some holiday cheer. So December 12th from 3 to 8, join us at the library. We're having the model trains that we always have set up there every year, and we're really excited to be a participant of Winter Walk again this year. I do want to draw your attention to some community surveying. So we do have the POLCO Community Engagement Survey tool that we have from the community, where we do engage the community on ideas and feedback. And we have an overall survey that's coming to an end, kind of a year-end one that we have here at the end of or middle of December. On the 15th, we'll be closing. So please sign up for POLCO and get those alerts. Did want to draw your attention as well to the Growing Local Leadership Program. So the city is hosting, as part of our diversity, equity, inclusion strategic goals of the city, to be a welcoming community for all, to try and build capacity on our boards and commissions for traditionally underrepresented groups. We are having an early January application deadline for that. We have a number of people who have submitted applications, and so if you're interested in that program or think there might be good people you know that might be candidates for that type of a program, encourage you to check that out and apply. There's more information on the city's website related to that as well. Do want to also encourage you kind of back on the snow removal issue, that when we do have a snow event, we do ask that you have your sidewalks cleared within 12 hours of snow stopping. Again, to be a pedestrian-friendly community where people can get around year-round, it's really important that we all do our civic responsibility and get our sidewalks cleared off, because to have your sidewalk cleared and then your neighbors isn't cleared and so on, it gets to be a little tough. So help out a neighbor, clear out their snow. If you're blowing yours out, do a helping hand, but encourage you to clear your snow off. And with that as well, we have fire hydrants as well, that if you have a fire hydrant in your neighborhood, we really ask that those be cleared around there. So provide a 3-foot clearance really is helpful for our fire department. It's really challenging for them to get out and to get to all of the hydrants. So if we can help them, give a helping hand to our local fire department, water department, that can be very useful for us. So encourage you to do that. In closing, as well as you enjoy the holidays with your family and friends and community, if you choose to imbibe in little adult beverages, encourage you to crash at a friend's house, not on our roadways, so please drink responsibly. We will have additional DWI enforcement out on the roads to have a safe roadway system for our community. So we support our local law enforcement and encourage you to be safe and have a good time on the holidays with your friends and families. So with that, I appreciate your time. Again, I'm the city administrator. Thank you for watching this week's update.